You're probably wondering, what is a skill? What's the difference between a skill and a tool for an agent? How do you install this for your agent, or how do you even create one? Where do you even get one? How can you safely do this for your agent? And what exactly is it that I need in order to get this created for myself? Well, if you watch till the end of the video, I'll show you exactly what you need in order to create skills for your agents, how to potentially even source skills online that are publicly available, and how you can safely do this yourself. Without anything else to say, let's get right into the computer. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about agentic skill setups and arming your agents with skills. And what exactly the heck is a skill, right? We're going to be covering all that right now. Skills, the basic skills, how to set them up, what they are. Now, when people are online talking about what is a skill, what is a tool, they're two completely various different things. But let me just simply break it down. When you're giving an agent a skill, and all it really is just a markdown file, it's just a way you format these text files. And what they are is enables your agents to do very specific things. Like you're teaching them new skills. Like you know how to walk, right? You know how to ride a bike. You are basically giving an agent a skill, how to do something very specifically, whether it is to manage your campaigns in a very specific way on Facebook, whether it's know how to trigger a stop loss when you're trading, whether you are writing an email to a prospect in a very specific tone, language. Say you don't like M dashes, how these AIs be always writing M dashes. You prefer not to do that. You prefer a very certain type of signature. What you're doing in skills is you are pretty much training the AI, or whatever model you're running your agent on, how to do something in a very specific way. You could go really deep down the rabbit hole in terms of how complex a skill is, or how specific you want a skill to be with certain decision trees, or if something is a really long specific process. But nonetheless, these files shouldn't be necessarily that long. It's more so just arming your agent of say, hey, when I wake up and I need to do something, or I'm on a scheduled cron job, or the user requests me to do something, if this is within my skills and this gets loaded up into my context, I read the description, and then from there, I know I can easily access it. So they enable you to trigger automations. They enable you to trigger various different integrations with external services, specific behaviors and responses. And then let's actually go into detail. What exactly is a skill and what is a tool? A skill is to pretty much how to use a tool, kind of how I explained. Whereas having tool access or tool capability is like telling your agent, hey, here's my calendar. You can access my calendar now. But the problem is they don't know what to do with the calendar. So if your skill, or let's say you have a Calendly skill, and then you give the agent access to Calendly, which is the tool. Now, let's say if you train the agent to look for very specific signals, very specific events on your calendar, or how to manage and move different events around, that is what is being taught or written out inside of the skill. And then when you give the agent the access into your Calendly integration, then from there it can actually do things depending on the scopes you set for your agent, because you don't have to give the agent all the scopes, right? Maybe you want to revoke access to entirely delete events or totally modify them. Maybe you can only view your events and not actually delete anything, because God forbid, imagine it deleted all your booked calls out for a whole entire week, right? Like nobody wants that. So sometimes you can like revoke the access just so it can only view things and then relay you information or do something in a specific task or whatever it is, right? But the skill is pretty much the how to use the tool, and the tool is the integration and the new capability the agent has access to. Because if you are just simply talking to a chat model, it's just a chat model, it's just text, is doing something, right? But when you are actually giving this thing a tool, you're making it multimodal and it can do different things. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I can juggle, I can also talk to you, I can speak to you, I can transcribe voice to text to you, I can also generate videos for you, I can manage your calendar, I can manage your CRM, I can do all these things. So when you're just simply talking to a chat interface, it just simply is that, just chat. Whereas if you arm it with tools, it can actually now be this super powerful agent at your disposal. Now, some skill examples, I kind of told you this before, but I'm just going to quickly go over this here. Maybe there's a very certain way you do copywriting for product pages, or copywriting for, say, email outreach. You want the agent to be trained, or whether you're creating a sub agent or you're doing whatever, you want the agents that you are creating to be very specific in their copywriting, their language, your framework, what's proven to work with your process, your sales team, or whatever. And what you're doing is you are transferring that skill that is in your head or in your resources or wherever into the skill file. So then anytime it is being spawned or created to do the specific task, it can reference the skill and it can pretty much on par, say 90% plus, nail exactly what it is that you're looking for. Now, the better model you're using this thing with, the more likely you're going to have a better output created. But nonetheless, the skill is there. It pretty much wipes out the need to do this all manually yourself, saves a bunch of time, and then you get the output that you're always looking for. Because at the end of the day, you just have to train the AI how to pretty much do the same thing you are doing or someone else is doing. Whereas, say, here in this Trello skill example, this is now arming the skill with a tool. So now the skill can show how to work inside of a Trello board, which Trello board to pick, what the rules are, what not to do, what to do, how to work with it. Do you have certain types of conventions when you're naming the different boards, the tasks, how things are laid out. And then it's pretty much just calling an API call, which is pretty much a connection between the AI to the integration, and then from there I can actually do things. So it reads the skill file, which is just a markdown file. It integrates and connects with Trello, and then once it's connected, it can actually do things. It can move your tasks around. It can mark something as completed if it actually did something. It can update the statuses. It can create more things, whatever. Now, when you're actually going, I'm going to show you here also too a skill example too, and like how we can actually create one. But when it comes to actually creating the skill, what is required to pretty much make a really thorough, good skill? You need documentation. You need examples. You need to give this thing potentially access into the developer backend where it can say call an API. It knows the account user ID. It knows the project workspace ID. So all these things are requisites if, say, you are working with a tool, but they are not required because some things, like say for copywriting or say certain ways it's speaking back to me, or say maybe managing my files within the directory of the agent file itself, maybe it doesn't need access to tools. So it's not required that you give it access to APIs or any sort of backend developer portal, but nonetheless, from a high level, you want to, inside of the skill, be very thorough and complete in terms of what you're looking for. What's the definition of done? What does done look like if, say, you are giving it a skill, how to create thumbnails? What are some good examples? What are some bad examples? The more you can show it good and bad examples, you can then make your agent give you really high quality, consistent output. And the thing is, like, these examples, they don't necessarily have to be inside of the skill file. Like if you are creating a folder and you have various different examples in a subfolder for the skill, it can always reference this. When you're giving it a checklist for how to complete something and know it's done, it can reference these examples and then be like, okay, here's all the example tasks that are marked as done. Here are all the examples marked as good quality, and here are all the examples that are marked as bad quality. So then it can cross-check its output with all your examples and then know and decide whether or not this is a good output or a bad output and has to do everything all over again, or maybe notify you if it's blocked on something. But regardless, here's pretty much where you're transferring all your information from maybe someone else, your research, whatever context you can relay the agent with the skill, and then you're pretty much giving it a very precise definition and instruction how to do something. And the thing is, you don't even have to create these skills yourself. You can just literally prompt the AI. Now, there's various different ways how you can add skills. So we'll go over here on some of these websites you can access these skills. So there's like skills.sh, there's Claw Hub, then you can also do it yourself. This is one very big repository of tons of skills. The only thing I have to tell you about this is that beware that when you're starting to access community tools or anything that is outside of your own project, you are potentially exposing yourself to something that can have a malicious intent. It doesn't mean like all these people are creating these things with malicious intents, but Claw Hub, it's, right in the beginning when OpenClaw and these agents were getting really hot, people were finding a bunch of malware inside of the skills. Now they got way better. Now there is some like these security scans where it tells you whether something's suspicious, whether something is flagged, whether something can potentially be harmful to your machine, so you can like hide the suspicious, and then pretty much what you do is you can kind of just like look through everything going on here. If you want to make your agent way more powerful, you can just pretty much look through what's in the skills, what exactly it does. You can then just import it into your agent's directory. And the way it works is you just literally download the file, you drag and drop into your skills, and then it should be there. Otherwise, if you don't know what you're doing, literally just copy the link, let the agent import it into his own skills. Another site is skills.sh, pretty much the same thing, but you can look at all these skills it's offering, whether it's being able to access Supabase, whether it's being access something like Canva, whether it's being able to I don't know, do something with onboarding. You know what I mean? There's all these various different skills. The one thing I do definitely recommend is if you are looking for skills and you just want to skip the learning curve, look for official documentation from the actual provider you are looking to build a skill for. You know what I mean? So like rather than looking here for skills, if you need something from Supabase, go to Supabase, see whether or not they offer a skill. If you need something from, say, another provider, just go to the provider, see if they offer any skill, and you will get the official skill link. Or maybe it's even in their documentation, because then it's safe, it's trusted, it's 100% vetted by them and not some BS potential other person creating it that might just have terrible code. It might be choppy, it might not even do exactly what you need it to do, or it just might be suspicious. You know what I mean? So just when in doubt, go into the developer documentation of the official provider you're looking to make a skill for, see if they offer the skill. So it's literally just a skill file. If you just want to take it into your own directory, you would just open up the terminal inside of your virtual private server or inside of the directory that you're working with your agent. You copy it, you paste it, and then it'll literally just be there inside of skills. And then do it yourself. That's the last way you can do it. If you are carrying sensitive information, if you don't trust these people online, pretty much what you can do is just go online, find the skills you want, provide it as a reference to either Claude or whatever AI you're working with, tell it to create a plan in terms of to replicate the skill, let it do its own research, and then just pretty much build it out itself. You're literally just prompting these AIs. It doesn't have to be anything complicated here. Now, the pros and cons are pretty much as I just said. If you work with pre-made skills, it's like templates, you know what I mean? Saving time, especially if you're just getting it from the provider, it's the safest. It just saves you a bunch of time. You can just import it into your project. It's there. It knows exactly how to get the skill, and that's it. You know what I mean? But the only con is if you are working with, say, a third-party developer, some random solo developer, whoever, some random person online, then the only risk there is that you just don't know whether or not it's safe. Okay, I just refreshed my page because I forgot I added this earlier, but once again, you know, you have that security risk. And then if you do it yourself, the pro is that, you know, you get it customized exactly to your workflow. Not everyone has specific one-size-fits-all workflows, but the only cons is that it takes time, takes tokens, cost, efficiency. You might have to tweak it. You might have to find workarounds in terms of like how to get it to work specifically for you. But nonetheless, if you have the skill or if you have the manpower to get this figured out yourself, you'll have a very specific skill fit for very specific needs inside of your workflow. The one thing I definitely do recommend before you create any skills is to get the Anthropic skill creator. So you can literally just copy this link, go to Anthropic, and then pretty much what Anthropic has here is they created official skills. So if you go to skill creator here, you can literally just tell your agent to download this, right? If you just go here and you just copy the permalink and then you just paste it into your directory, you can just have this skill downloaded into your directory, and then your agent can pretty much just access it. Even if you're working with OpenClaw, you can just use this skill creator because it's probably the best skill creator tool out there on the market. I've tried creating my own before I even discovered this, and this one always is just way better. So anytime in the future when your agent is cooking up a new skill or is pretty much trying to figure out how to like templatize creating new skills, it's always going to be very consistent. It's going to reference the skill file from Anthropic and it's going to create consistent skills. So how does a skill actually look like? Let's actually look at the formatting and then I'll show you an actual file. So the proper way to actually format a skill is there's a structure. There's a name and description. It's in this format called YAML, and then it shows you how to use it. You like when it actually comes to creating the skill. You want to talk about how to use the skill, step-by-step instructions, good, bad example. You can actually have this inside of the skill file, or you can because a skill, when you're creating the skill, is just a directory within the skills directory. So like, let's say you're doing something for HeyGen, which is a AI video clone generator, right? There'll be the HeyGen skill, and then there'll be the skill.md file specifically for this HeyGen. And then that skill.md file, that's going to be the specific skill that the AI references. But then you can also have folders and other directories showing good examples, decision trees, more thorough instructions, more access, or like various different resources for the agent to do a complete job. So you can go like really complex with it, but in the beginning, just have a simple skill.md file within the skill itself. Show the examples, edge cases, and the proper output formats if you're looking for something for very specific. Now here, when you go inside of a skill file, this is pretty much how it looks like. You'll have the name of the skill, you'll have a description, so anytime the agent loads up the skill, it will just quickly see this snippet, because it's not going to load up all this context. It just needs to load up this snippet, so anytime it is loading up a new fresh session, it'll be like, oh, hey, I have access to these skills in case I need it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to call them and read all this, because if we were to inject this full entire skill into the AI, that just eats up the tokens, capacity for the context window, and it also decreases the performance. But you can kind of see here, like, what this is, what's the purpose of it, what's the rules, what are the configurations, where can you access it. In this case, I was accessing HeyGen through Composio, which gives you access to hundreds of other different tools. So we're not directly connecting to the HeyGen API itself, but through Composio, because then it's just pretty easy in my opinion. You can just have a simple source of truth where it can just access all these various different APIs, and we connect through OAuth. But nonetheless, you can kind of see here that we have this like configurations here, how to access it, you know what I mean? And then in here it has my ID for the account, my AI clone ID, and pretty much when you go down the file, there's some sensitive information there, so I'm obviously not going to expose that, but it's more so just a simple instruction. Hey, use this avatar ID. When we're working with a script, we want to get the agent to say something like this in my voice. This is how I talk about. Use this sort of video. Use it in this specific case scenario. You know what I mean? Now, the skill obviously isn't a perfect skill. It's just something I created to just do a test and experiment with. But nonetheless, that's what a skill is. Now, let's quickly walk through how to actually set up a skill. Now, Superdata is a pretty interesting tool. It is a simple tool where what you can do is just pretty much fetch transcripts online. And anytime you paste a YouTube video or something like that, your agent has access to go online, fetch the YouTube URL, and then just get the transcript and then provide you a deliverable if you need the transcript, right? So your agent's not limited, you know what I mean? It can actually read and see what the transcript is about. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fetch the API keys. You get 100 free credits every single month on this account. Once you get your key, so as you can see here, I kind of already used some, but once you get the key. Once you get the key, you're going to want to go into OpenClaw. Once you go into the config settings, you go into the environments. You at the top, you press add entry, and then at the bottom here, you would just add, say, Superdata API key, paste in the API key, save it. I already have it in my account, so I'm not going to save it. Once it's in there, it's as simple as this. Watch. You go to their documentation or whatever specifically that you need the AI to do. We're just going to literally go here. We're going to copy and paste. I mean, honestly, you don't have to say use the skill creator tool. It already knows, but I just literally fetched the link. If your AI has access to the internet, web search, it should be able to do this. You prompt the AI, it's going to get right to work, and it should be able to fetch a YouTube link. And I just mentioned you have access already to the Superdata API. We're just going to get the quick transcript of Rickroll. We're going to paste it. If you don't have a deliverables folder, I also recommend this for your agent setup, because then there's always like a single source of truth where your AI can just drop things it's doing, right? So I already have a deliverables folder. I told it once done and get a transcript of this video. We're just going to wait for that. So check this out. It created the final skill. This is the entire skill here. It already knows that we have the API key inside of the configs. So anytime it's going to be using this skill, it's going to be referencing this file. And you can see here, it's a very consistent format, right? And if you ever need to update it, literally just either update it yourself or just tell the bot to pretty much self-update it. If we look here, the AI says it saved it, put it into deliverables, Rickroll transcript. So let's check it out right now. I went into deliverables, searched up Rickroll transcript, which if you have everything sorted by recent, it should be there. And here it is. You have the full entire transcript of the Rickroll video. So that was pretty much the walkthrough. And the thing I want you to keep in mind is that I did that walkthrough specifically with enabling the AI to have access to a tool, which is called superdata.ai. Pretty much enables you to copy URLs of YouTube videos and I believe other placement platforms too. And then pretty much you can just extract the transcript and then do whatever you want with it, right? So it makes it powerful. The skill file itself, all that does is just enables the AI to know exactly what to do. Here's the API key. Here's all the things you could potentially do with the skill. And then once ever I provide you, say, a URL, you can also modify the description so it knows when it should, trigger this tool. But then say a certain event happens, you prompt the AI to do something, it will use the tool and then it'll fetch you the transcripts, right? So it's knocking out two things. Whereas if you were just focusing on skill for something more specific where you don't need to call tools, that's also fine, but I wanted to do one where it kind of does both scenarios here. But that's pretty much the summary. Skills are pretty much instructions for your agent. Tools give you access to services and various different softwares online to make your AI more powerful. And here's the thing. Just because I said software doesn't mean you can't use this thing to do things in the real world. Like you can apply this AI into technology inside of your home, into physical cases,
and stuff like that. So as long as there is a backend API access, a developer portal for the AI to access, you can rest assured you can call it. There's a few places you can get these skills from, such as these providers here. Use the Anthropic skill creator to create skills with a consistent template and having it properly formatted. I always recommend the Anthropic skill creator. It's free. And literally, if you don't know what to do, just tell the AI to find it online, find the official one, and then create it itself. And basic rule of thumb, include documents, examples, clear instructions. How do you want the skill to be used? For instance, I just gave this AI access to transcripts. Now I can make this bot even more powerful. How? Look, if there's a specific video tutorial online, if there's a podcast I've listened to, whatever, I can just feed literally the URL of the piece of content. And then from there, I could be like, hey, AI, create a skill based off this video I just watched. It'll get the transcript. It will do whatever it has to do, create a skill with the Anthropic skill creator, and then maybe it'll tell you, hey, hook up this API, we need access to this, blah, 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 and now you have this crazy skill. You know what I mean? How powerful is that? That's the video. If you found this valuable, check out my newsletter, subscribe for more, and hope to see you in another one.